This All Things Cybersecurity webinar is brought to you by ACI Learning. Be bold, train smart. Also brought to you by TechNado. New episodes out today and every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, your source for all the latest in tech and cyber news. Don't forget, coming up very quickly, Wild West Hackin' Fest, October 8th through the 11th in Deadwood, South Dakota. Hope to see you there. And a big shout out to two cyber chicks for loaning us Jax Scott, our very special guest, for today's webinar. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us for today's All Things Cyber webinar. I'm Sophie Goodwin, one of your hosts. I am super excited about today's episode, especially about our guest, who we are going to introduce in just a moment. We can't wait to get to all your questions as well. But of course, I'm not alone here in the studio. I have Mr. Daniel Lowrie here with me, YouTube star. Daniel, how are you handling your newfound YouTube fame?
Oh, yeah. Star is that's a bit of a stretch, I think. I like to call myself the best kept secret on YouTube.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah,
sure, under lock and key.
Nobody watches my channel.
Okay. Well,
by the way, that's a lovely color on you.
Thank you. Yes, bruise colored, right? Yeah, thank you. Look, there you are,
hey,
the star.
There it is.
You're doing pretty good views-wise. I think you're an up-and-comer. I think you're on your way to the top, Daniel. Yeah. Rising star. How about that?
Yeah, that's right. So, that slow 1% grade.
Very, very smooth plug for Daniel's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
If you could, very obvious plug.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. There you are again.
Second plug, number 2.
Do you have 2 channels?
No, it's just the same
First
channel.
plus second.
He's just plugging it again.
You have an alter ego.
Yeah.
Laniel Dowry.
Man, that guy gets me in trouble.
What was the anagram of your name? Dollar Weenie?
Was it Dollar Weenie? Yeah. I should make a channel, call it Dollar Weenie.
It's Daniel's anagram.
Brain rot content.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I would pay for that.
That's right.
Well, of course, you are not on Daniel Lowrie's YouTube channel today, although I do recommend you check it out after the show. You are here for the All Things Cyber webinar. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have a very special guest with us. So what do we say? Should we bring her on in?
I say we should.
I say we should. Jax, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited to have you. How are you?
I love it. I'm so excited to be here. I love you both, Sophie, Daniel. Let's do it. And by the way, Daniel, 11,000 plus on. I just subscribed. You just got a new subscriber right here. I don't know why I wasn't subscribed. I feel like I should have already been there.
It's because I make really very niche content. That's why.
Yeah.
It's so niche. I saw Star Wars on there. It's so niche.
That was funny. That was at Hackspace Con. Well, I was leaving Hackspace Con.
Really?
Yeah, not last year, or not this year, but last year. And all of a sudden, this procession of dressed up, fully charactered Star Wars people start walking by, and it was amazing. I was like, "This is crazy."
I don't think I've seen that.
Like one of the 4 shorts I've done.
Piece of your content. That's
See,
okay.
you're missing out. I got all sorts of weird, random stuff. Mostly cybersecurity related, though.
Yeah, but the more niche your stuff is, I feel like the more, if you focus in super hard on a couple of things, you can do them a lot better, usually, I feel like.
No, I try.
That's my thinking.
I try.
Coming from somebody that doesn't do any of that. So take it with a grain of salt.
That's right.
But I'm glad, though, that you mentioned, you focus mostly on cybersecurity stuff, obviously, on your channel, because that's, of course, what we're here to talk about today. And Jax is, of course, one of the most ideal guests that we could have on the show. Yeah. Jax is the founder of Outpost Gray. Maybe you've heard of it, right? She's got quite a few accomplishments under her belt. One of those things, she's got a senior executive guide you can check out, 10 things to do in your first 90 days. Jax, maybe you could give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, actually, okay. So I felt like when I first got into the senior executive role that I'm at today at Pearson, I didn't feel like I was as equipped as I could have been, but I think it's not because I didn't have the proper education under my belt, but it's more of like when you go into a senior executive role, you're not going to know you're just not going to know what you don't know until you get into the role. You can only prepare so much. It's the same with like anybody that's out there. It's like trying to break into the industry, or you've recently broken and you did all this hands-on training. And then when you get in, it's very different than what you've learned in the coursework. So what I did to help out individuals like myself that are either about to take their next step into a senior executive role or thinking about it is I created, and that will actually just take you to a link to request the downloadable version of it. I can certainly give a link to you all and then you can share it out with the community. But what I've done is I've created top 10 things, and it starts with like, first thing is like going in and understanding the incident response plan within the environment, like truly understanding the current security posture, building key relationships, setting clear goals and priorities, like things that you wouldn't think about because you're honestly like super overwhelmed. I was when I got into this role. And so I just broke it down into 10 steps. So it's nothing that's like too astronomically hard, but it's more of like, here's your roadmap to make your life easier as you become that successful senior executive within cybersecurity.
Man, I love how like our culture now in cybersecurity seems to be one of almost like open source, right? Like
Yeah.
where we take all the
Yeah.
things that used to be kind of hidden behind the veil, and the only way you would ever learn that stuff or see that stuff was to be a part of it, to go obtain that role. And now it's like, well, now that you're in, you can see all the magic that happens here. And now we all just want to go, well, this is what it's like. Now everybody can know. Well, I don't know why this has been a secret for so long. I don't know why we've been trying to keep it a secret. Here it is. Everybody enjoy. And I love that about how that's how the cybersecurity community has become, is we just want to share information with each other and make it available. And because I want you to do well. I want you to be good at your job and secure more things, whether that be at the executive level or you're a brand newbie to some SOC analyst job or a pen tester or whatever the case is. I don't want that to be a difficult lift for you to get up to speed. I want you to be able to hit the ground running.
Yeah. I think Oh, go ahead.
I think one of the points to that, one of the points to that, Daniel, is like when in this community, what I feel like happens too is we have our own challenges as we get into cybersecurity, or we have our challenges as we're in the community. And we do have this amazing community, depending on if they're part of your community, Daniel, on YouTube, or Simply Cyber or Two Cyber Chicks. There's a lot of overlap in this community between other communities. And it's like, I don't think all of them are like this, to your point, Daniel, but I do think that what we have here, people have these pain points. And I felt like, I know I'm not the only one that feels this way about getting into this senior executive role and feeling a little bit lost, but then also wanting to share that to hopefully make somebody else's life easier. And part of this manual too even talks about like understanding as a senior executive, everybody talks about strategy, but what does that really mean? And then what does it actually mean to be a senior executive versus maybe a junior executive or something? And when I say junior executive, like associate director. So this manual really helps you to understand kind of what that role is. And the last point on this, one of the key things that I've learned about this is that being a senior executive is all about taking care of your people. We all know that you're not doing the work anymore, but it is about making sure your team has the appropriate support, the resources, and the tools to be able to do that, to do their job. But part of that is leading with empathy, understanding, listening to them, letting them be seen and heard, making time for them. That's a lot of the time that you have, like that's spent with your team as a senior executive, is all about fostering your people, like getting them to work together, fostering a team of cohesion and a safe space for everyone.
Yeah, I feel like this would also be I'm not going to go into an executive. I'm not going to become an executive anytime soon. But if I had something like this where I could read and see what are my executives above me that are kind of being my leaders and guiding me where they need me to go, what are they going through and how does that look for them? Having some glimpse into their perspective is helpful for me as an employee to be able to deliver what they need so that we can all be happy and get our jobs done and do the things we want to do so that we can succeed.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Well, we agree to agree. We like that.
I'm in the same boat. I'm not anywhere obviously near becoming an executive, but I think if I were looking in that direction, it can be a little daunting. So it's nice to have resources like that to kind of help clear things up a little bit. So we do appreciate that. And Jax, you did mention, I think a little bit earlier, something about Two Cyber Chicks. I think it's just a little podcast.
A little thing she does.
A little thing you like to do
side.
Called Two Cyber Chicks. And I understand new season just dropped. Am I right about that?
Heck yeah, season 5. I can't believe we've been around for 5 seasons now. That is what I want to say. That's like, I feel like it's been 3 years because we were Hackers and Hexen with John Helmus. If anybody in the community knows John Helmus. And then it came, like John got really busy with life, PhDing it, getting super smart. So then Eric and I branched off on our own and created Two Cyber Chicks. And this season we've got to say, is the best season so far. We've got some amazing guests. We even got a sponsor for us. Thank you to Dr. Jerry Ogier of Simply Cyber for the Simply Cyber podcast platform that he has. That's where we're hosted on. So we are thrilled to be part of the Simply Cyber community. We got picked up last year for season 4. So this is our second year with them, and we're really getting more engaging into the community. We love it. I mean, we're already lining up guests for season 6 and season 7 already. So it's going to be spicy. And my co-host, Erica McDuffie, she had a baby. So it's now 3 cyber chicks. Mila, I think Mila's about 3 weeks old now. So yeah.
I can only see that conversation going down. You know what we need on 2 Cyber Chicks? Another co-host. Why don't you go ahead and make another person? Because finding the right person is just too difficult. So we'll just build it from scratch.
3's a magic number.
I love it. Yeah.
That is awesome. A good number. Well, tell Erica we said congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Because that is super awesome.
Yeah.
That is super awesome. And of course, congratulations to you both on a 5th season. Yeah. And it sounds like there's a line out the door of guests. So that is some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Our hats off to you.
It takes a lot. You guys know.
You don't wear hats.
It takes a lot to run a podcast. You guys know that.
It does. It does.
Yeah. And we have a bunch of help.
We did a podcast yesterday, and it typically goes off the rails, which is kind of makes it fun, but
yeah, it's grown from like, oh, okay, let's try to, we got to make sure we hit an hour, to now it's like, okay, stop before you get to an hour and a half because it's too much and nobody's going to listen to that.
We definitely have to stop ourselves.
Yeah, we get off the rails a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I remember we used to call it the rapid fire. It is no longer rapid. Right? It's like, let's keep it 3 minutes per segment. Yeah, it was like, no. It's like
Didn't
10
work.
minutes per thing.
Oh, man. Yeah. You guys are good, though. You guys got the banter down to like a science. It's awesome.
I'm glad you think that.
Yeah,
that's just because we hate each other.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of animosity crossing this table right now. You can't feel it, but you're stuck in the middle of it at this moment.
It's not animation, it's animosity.
Yeah,
you are right. You are right. Well, I mean, like you said, we do try to get, keep things under a certain time limit, and these webinars are really no different. We do try to keep them to an hour because we know people are working and they got stuff to get to. So we do have some questions that we want to get to. They're starting to roll in.
We like questions.
What do you say? Should we jump into that first one?
Make some questions happen.
We have a question from Mr. Zach Hill on YouTube. It rings a bell. I don't know. And Zach wants to know.
Yeah, that does ring a little bit of a bell.
He was a gas station attendant, right?
Zach says, when I grow up, how can I be more like Jax? Oh.
Oh my God. I want to be more like you. So how are we going to make that happen?
You know what's funny is I know, we all know Zach. Zach's so fun and he's a good guy and he's probably coming here with tongue in cheek. But if you take this and look at this question from a different perspective, which is you're obviously very successful and you've made your way in this world as a cybersecurity professional. And there's probably a lot of people that would like to emulate that. And hearing how each of us made our way to where we are is super helpful. And a lot of people do want to know that. So there's probably a lot of information around your story that could be useful to somebody that's listening right now. What would you say? Let's rephrase the question here. What would you say are some of the key things in your career that helped you get to where you are?
Yeah. And Zach, it's great to see you. Thanks for the support. My career was like not linear at all. It was kind of all over the place. And I think for me, it was definitely perseverance and resiliency. And I know there's some people in the crowd like Chris and James. I know there's individuals that have been looking for a job in this field for quite a long time, and they're struggling. For me, it was actually like, I didn't feel like I was actually smart enough to be in technology for a really long time, because from a young age, I grown up in the Midwest. Like I had grown up with the mentality that women weren't supposed to be in STEM. It was just the age that I grew up. My dad was actually a programmer. He literally is in his late 70s. He just retired. So I've always been around computers. I've always been around programming of some sort. Both of my brothers are in IT, but when it came to me, it was like, you shouldn't do math. You're not smart enough. And it was just how he was raised. Like the women were supposed to get married, have babies, stay at home. So the concept of his daughter wanting to go into STEM he just couldn't comprehend it at the time. So that was conditioned into me at a young age. And then when I got into the military in 2008, 2004, in 2008, I branched into IT. And then I started passing all these schools as like honor grad, but I still didn't think I was smart enough. So fast forward a few years, like over a decade, I actually kept resisting going into tech. I had all these great opportunities presented to me, even through the military. And then cyber came about and I still didn't want to do it. So in the military, I had this opportunity to get deployed in 2019 with the special ops to go and support some operations in Europe. And when I got out there, I came out there as, you call it, electronic warfare officer. So we work in the electromagnetic spectrum space, so like radio frequencies, so not a lot to do with cyber. And they were like, well, you do SEMA, which is cyber electromagnetic activities, SEMA. So it has cyber in it. And I'm not joking you. This is like, they were like, you're cyber, so we can't use your EW capabilities. So do something in cyber. And I'm super resilient, like I said, like resilient and figuring out kind of what is going to be my job in this deployment, make it or break it kind of mentality. So I created a job for myself in the first part of 2019. And the next thing you know, I'm working autonomously all over Europe doing strategic cyber operations. And up until this point, I didn't know like a significant amount. I thought cyber was just like service desk, help desk. I didn't actually understand cyber at the time. And then once I dove headfirst into it, I realized a couple of things. I realized how expansive this field is and how you can do so many different things, and that one position at one company with a particular title, if you have the exact same title at another company, could be wildly different. The other thing I realized, which was like a monumental moment for me, was that I can do anything I apply myself to. And I actually am really smart and I can do this field. So that was my pivotal moment in 2019. And I got a really great opportunity to work for FireEye, now Mandiant, because I was working with a client in Europe that was their client. So they brought me on as a consultant, as a senior analyst doing cyber threat intel. And that was when you gave me an inch and I kicked the door open and I just took off running. I dove headfirst. I feel like the last few years I've literally, and I'm not exaggerating, completely engulfed myself into this field through education, training, networking, like everything you can possibly think of. I've been doing podcasting, content creation. And I feel like all the stuff that I was doing from 2008 up to this point created this foundation for me. So when I finally realized and believed in myself in 2019, it was like, that was literally my jumping off point of like, okay, all the opportunity is in front of me. I just have to change this. And once I change my mindset, everything else will come into play. So if anybody's listening and they're like, what can I do differently? And if they're struggling, they're trying to break in, like it is a mindset adjustment. I understand getting like all the denial emails when you're applying is really, really frustrating, but just kind of reassessing, reevaluating, but not giving up. Like resiliency is so important. I lost my job in this field. I got laid off in 2021 and it was like 8 months before I got another job. But in that time frame, I started a YouTube channel. I started my own company. I started doing consulting work on the side. Like I wasn't idle. I started doing stuff so when I submitted a resume, I didn't have all this white space. So there's like ways to get experience and put yourself out there. And there's a lot of people doing it. I think Chris Young, I think James does a great job at that. Carrie's in chat right now. Like there's a lot of people even in the chat right now that are great at networking and being involved in the community. And that's what it's about, on top of like being resilient. And final thought on this. I'm not saying all of this to be like, it doesn't, suck when you're trying to find something, and it does. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat and be like, it's okay, you guys got this, rah-rah-ree. Like ease and grace through the process, and just know that if this is what you want, you stay focused, you can do it.
I think you hit
that's a really long story.
Yeah,
for you,
I think you hit the biggest highlight in that story. The big takeaway is tenacity, right? If you're going to be successful at anything, you cannot give up. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, regardless of whatever obstacles that you meet. You just continue to move forward every single day. And that might be centimeters for today, but that's cool because eventually that's going to build some momentum and that's going to catch fire and you're going to go and be able to run. It's those that people get. And then like for me, it's pen testing, right? If you're trying to hack into something and I run a scan and I think, oh, that might be the path for initial access and it doesn't work. If I just threw my hands in the air and went, well, I guess that didn't work, I guess I'm not going to get in. That's not how that works. You continue to go, okay, that didn't work, readjust, replan, try the new plan, see if that works. Did it change anything? Did it move? And it's the same. Everything is that way. As long as you continue to just chip at the problem, eventually the wall gives up and falls over and you'll find your way. Now that could take longer. Like I love that you put that out there. That doesn't mean it's going to be like hey, I didn't give up and tomorrow things happened. It could take a while, but you got to be ready. You got to strap your helmet on and be ready for war, because that can be what it is. And for a lot of times and a lot of people, that is what it is. But you just don't give up. You just keep going.
Well, sure. And to you guys' point, I think, like you said, it may be a little bit before you find something else, find something new, but you can either spend that time doing nothing or,
Right.
you know, being upset and sad. And there's, you know, validity to that, to be disappointed or frustrated, or you can spend that time, you know, getting stuff done. Right. And I think that because, like you guys were saying earlier, that the community is, for the most part, pretty open and helpful, and everybody wants to help each other, it's a lot easier than it was to find resources that you can still use to get experience, to learn things, even when you're searching for that next big thing. So
that's right.
I think,
and I know there's a lot of people that are trying to get into cybersecurity right now. So it's a really saturated market. Imagine if you're one of those people that are trying to get in and you're the one that doesn't give up, because guess what? The people that were just in it for, oh, it seemed like interesting, or I heard there's a good paycheck involved with it, or whatever. And then it doesn't happen for them immediately. And either by necessity or because they just got bored with it, they gave up, but you're still standing there. Guess who starts getting work, right? Guess who starts becoming the one that, oh, you stuck around. All right, that's going to get rewarded, because now there's not a flood of people and we need people.
Yeah.
So you're now a part of the few voices that are still there, and you have some experience that it starts to move forward. So, and shout out to Chris Young, by the way. Glad you're here.
Yeah, I know.
He told me that he told me.
You.
Yeah, he told me that he got he's doing the Simply CyberCon. He's giving a talk there, so good for him.
Is that the thing? It's in November, right?
Yeah. #motivate.
All right.
#motivate.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Love seeing people from that community in the chat. It's always neat. We see a lot of the same names pop up, and
We
that's
do.
always cool. We do have a lot more questions coming in. So this next one is, it is a question. It's a little bit more technical, maybe. So I'm looking forward to hearing your take on this. This comes from YouTube. Why don't critical software like Chrome use security measures like shadow stacks and canaries to prevent buffer overflow attacks? That one's interesting.
Oh gosh.
That is a very technical question.
I might have to pass that.
It's super technical.
Yeah, I'm like, I might have to pass that one to Daniel, because I'm not that technical in that. I would just say that it probably because Chrome offers more comprehensive security mechanisms than that. I don't know. Like I'd bring in a technical person. Daniel,
Do we know they're not doing that? I don't know if they.
That's this question is making it sound like they do know, but yeah,
assuming it's true.
I would need to validate that.
Right. Assuming it's true, I would
right.
believe that the programmers at Google are fairly competent and have a reason for why they don't do that, or do whatever it is they do. I don't know what it is. I'm not a developer for Google. I think that's a great conversation, honestly. Is like if these are
100%.
security features that we could be implementing, and for X, Y, or Z reasons we're not, why is the juice not worth the squeeze on that? Again, we would have to be closer to the problem to know why. But it's a great question.
Yeah, it definitely, when I first read that, I was like, ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's because I would not know. I would not know.
These are great questions that are coming in from Where Am I? But I think you're a little too technical for me, bud. Am I? Like, does Jax have a disassembly or deobfuscation? That word always gets me experience in manipulating assembly or Ghidra. I don't even know what that is. That
Ghidra.
must be a software, an asset or something. Yeah.
Ghidra is the tool that the DoD and the NSA use, or they released it after, I think it was after the shadow brokers. They found this tool that they were using for, it's kind of like IDA Pro for deassembly and basically reverse engineering programs, so compiled programs, so you can see what code is going on underneath and then look for security issues. Ghidra, after it became released, is a very popular one because it rivals, I don't know if it rivals IDA Pro, but it's a very competent piece of software for doing that, and it's open source and free now. So.
Well, good to know. We all learned.
Yeah, I love
something
these
new.
questions, though. Where am I? I just might not be the right expert for you on this one. Failing you over here.
No, it's okay. I think that, like, ultimately, even if you're not on the technical side of things, this has impact at your level of things, because in your day job, Jax, how many developers, or at least secure SDLC kind of things, are you involved in, or have projects in the fire?
Oh God, that's we manage. So the team that I run, I actually have a fairly technical. Well, not fairly. There's only one person. It's not super technical. I run an extremely technical team. business information security officers. BISOs is the standard industry term. And we work within CISO, and we drive the security objectives inside of the office of CISO down to the 5 divisions. The company's been around, just to give you context, company's been around for about 180 years. We grew through acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions. So each of our divisions have various different tech stacks, various different CTOs. Like I have multiple CTOs, and our BISOs have various different businesses within each of those divisions. So it's not just 5 divisions and 5 businesses. It's like 5 divisions and multiple businesses under them with their own technologies, their own tech stack, their own everything. So my job is to lead my team to make sure that they understand what is required as far as understanding the risks, the gaps in the environment. So I look at it obviously from the 50,000 foot view, and then my team is really, really technical, using various vulnerability tools like Qualys and Sneak, and then we derive that data to help drive mitigation processes. So I can speak it, but there's certain technical things, like I'm not going to be able to answer a buffer overflow related to Chrome software, anything like that.
And neither can I. Don't feel bad, right? That's totally fine.
That's how I feel most of the time on this show. Is like, well, I don't know, but hopefully you do. So
what's interesting though is that how many, like we all have our specializations, so things that we are most competent in. And while let's say I'm not, the person that's deassembling code and moving around, assembly language stuff, I still might need to be aware of that regardless of where I'm at in our technology. Right, because are we doing any kind of like DAST or SAST, and or where we're looking at our CI/CD pipeline? Are we doing like IaaS, where we're doing a combination of those things and making changes along the way, performing in an agile manner, blah blah blah. Right, all the fun stuff that we talk about in the business sense that makes the product actually get to where it is. And hopefully it is secure by the time we release it to the public. And then what do we do after that? How we work in with responsible disclosure for security researchers that are finding after the fact the things that like, hey, you know what? We're human and we made a mistake. And thank goodness it was you that found it and not the Russians or whatever. That it does permeate throughout each one of the cyber niches, as it were. So I still like getting really technical questions, even if I can't answer them, because there's still an application for them at every level, I think.
Yep. Agreed. It makes you think too. Like you're like, okay, it gets the convert. Like, look at this. We've already had a really good conversation around that, even though we didn't actually answer the question. It got us talking about other things associated with it. So
True.
It's like a debate.
Yeah, and now I get to go home and go, I can learn more about why Chrome isn't using canaries, and are they using canaries like that?
It encourages learning.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have other questions that are decidedly less technical, so
Okay.
we'll go ahead and pull one of
Shall we?
those. I've been told by the voices in my head, aka the earpiece in my ear, that this one is pressing.
All right, daughter of Sam.
Wow.
That's a deep cut, right?
Crisley 3000
Oh my gosh.
wants to know, rumor on the street is Sophie looks like a bruise today. Can you expand on this, Daniel? I don't know, Daniel, can you?
That's hilarious.
Oh, so
Great.
that is phenomenal.
Oh my God.
Great.
That is awesome.
I look a lot more tan in that picture. That's not accurate.
I don't know what it was. Sophia's desk is opposite of mine. And we were getting ready for the webinar, and I stood up, and she stood up, and she has this lovely plum top on. It was very, very fetching. And my head went immediately to the movie Drop Dead Fred. Phoebe Cates, her imaginary friend, comes back in her life as an adult, right, from her childhood. And I think her husband has left her, and she's trying to win him back, and they're going to go to this fancy party, and she buys this dress, and it is of similar color to this. And he tells her, "You look like a giant bruise, or look like a big bruise." And I just stood up, and I saw Sophia, and I go, "You look like a big bruise." There it is. There it is.
Wow, that is a very similar color.
Yeah, it's a very similar color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't seen Drop Dead
That's awesome.
Fred, I highly recommend that movie.
That's probably before I was born.
That's my childhood right there.
Well, then, yeah, it was definitely before I was
Yeah,
born.
it was definitely before you
Yeah,
were born.
absolutely.
Since You've only been around for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, I just learned to walk and talk, so well on my way.
Yeah, I mean, you're very advanced for your age.
I truly am. I'm reading at a 5th grade level, so I'm doing great. So yeah, thank you for that. I will never be able to wear this shirt again without thinking of
drop dead
burst blood vessels.
That's right.
Injuries.
That's right.
Injuries.
Nothing like soft
Yeah.
tissue damage
Yeah.
to really.
Yeah. And I do bruise easily, which is the irony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like
I'm very pale.
like a soft fruit.
So I think I think they just yeah. We'll move on. We'll move on.
We'll move on.
No, this question I think is specifically for Jax, and maybe Jax, you can shed some light on this for us. Keith from Zoom wants to know, why Outpost Gray? Was that your military posting?
Yeah, so Outpost Gray has been around since 2015-16, and I established it. It was a defense contracting firm back then that I used to do a lot of intelligence work, and the company actually hired women operators to do intelligence operations within the United States. And we did a lot of secret squirrel work, and the name was Outpost Gray, being that it was an outpost. And an outpost in the military is usually typically like super small base that's not like heavily manned all by kind of itself. And then gray is what we call in like the special ops and secret squirrel spaces of like working in the gray zone. So that's where it's got its name. I've just kept it all these years, probably because I was lazy and I didn't want to change the LLC and S-Corp and all that data. But I don't know. It's near and dear. So it's just kind of merged with me.
I love how it is the name of her company by default. Like just inertia set in and was like, nah, I'm not changing it.
Yeah, it's fine. Just
I was like, I don't really want to rebrand. I'm just going to keep Outpost Gray.
You know, I've always wondered about this. I've never started my own business and done that kind of stuff. So that's a very interesting and commendable thing that you have done. And I've had some people talk to me about starting their own businesses and things. And I said, well, I don't really have that experience. But they have raised some interesting questions. Like there seems to be like a lot of legal issues around, especially around cybersecurity, right? It's not like I can just start kicking out cybersecurity stuff and pen testing people's things or it's a very niche. Are there resources or anything out there for people that are thinking about starting their own consulting firm or whatever that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would check with Small Business Association, SBA. If you start Googling stuff, if you're a veteran, there's a substantial amount of stuff where you can actually get free resourcing, funding, all of that. If you're a non-veteran, there's still a substantial amount of information out there. I'm not aware as far as the legalities of running a cybersecurity company. I would assume doing pen testing and things like that, you probably would need to make sure that your contract with the client is like lined out accordingly, depending on what you're going to be delivering and those parameters and the scope of work, because you're going to be in their environment. But outside of that, running a company takes a lot of work. And I've just kept it because I get a tax write-off. I have great accountants. I also run a couple of things through my company, but it's not active because I work at Pearson, but I do like my YouTube channel. So any funds or anything I make off of that's going to go through my S-Corp. So there's this good separation to have if you're starting to do things like, here's an example. We have some people I know in chat that are getting into doing more speaking engagements. And if they start making money, I would recommend just get a business started. It could be your name. It could be anything, because it'll help with that separation for you and it'll give you a better tax write-off. But I mean, starting it, it's a whole process. Bank account, EIN, like a whole thing you have to do to get it going. You just have to Google and research it. The last point on that, though, I will say, and a lot of people don't know this, is there's certain states in the United States that are the better states to establish a business because of this. There's no state taxes, so it's much cheaper. Like, for example, your yearly licensing may only be like $500 instead of $1,500 to $2,000. And so there's better tax breaks. I can tell you Nevada is one of them, Florida, I think Michigan or Minnesota or something, but you have to research that. And then you can pay somebody to establish your business out there using an address in that state. So that's a hack that people don't know, and they'll just try to establish it in their state, which is fine. But then you're paying like a lot of money for a business that may not be generating money. You might be spending literally like $2,000 or $3,000 a year, and you're just wanting to do kind of a side hustle.
Yeah. Well, it's a good business hack right there. Thank you.
Yeah.
We live in
Yeah.
Florida,
know all
so
those
I
hacks
knew there
for
was
sure.
no state tax here. So
Yeah. And have a really good accountant. If you ever do your
yes,
business, have a good accountant. Because if you
they
get
are worth the
audited,
money.
like that's the number one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're worth
Yeah.
the money, 100%. Yep. Yep.
That's why we come to cybersecurity webinars
That's right.
for business hacks. That's why we're
yeah,
here.
ultimately,
No,
you
it's
never
good.
know. People
I'm being
wanna-
serious.
yeah.
I'm being serious. I think
We
it's a
got to
good
cover
thing.
all things
I think- wow.
cybersecurity, right?
I think it spans beyond cyber. So I
That's
think
right.
it's good stuff to talk about. That's all I'm saying. I also wanted to, this is more of a question from me, but I know, Jax, that in the past, when we've done interviews and stuff, we've talked a little bit about the Jax Act. If there is one, I would love an update on what's going on with that.
Yeah, the Jax Act. So for anybody that doesn't know, it's it's an act that came out. I think it's been almost 2 years now. I think it'll be 2 years this October. That was intended and still is intended to help female soft operators that were part of a specific program called the Cultural Support Team, CST. And those women in particular, we struggle, and so do a lot of women in soft, struggle with receiving our disability at a certain rate because, or even in general, because we're not seen as combat veterans. And then a lot of our injuries are associated with being a CST. For example, I just got a text yesterday from a fellow CST, and I got one even 2 days before that, basically saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with the VA. What's going on with the Jax Act? It might be able to help me with being able to fight this disability claim that I have." So the act is to, in essence, be able to give us the power back, us female soft operators. So when we go into the VA, our narrative isn't written for us, that instead we have control of that narrative. And then we're seen as combat veterans because it will give us an identifier that'll go into our records. And then they'll actually retroactively go back and change our records, especially for the women that were part of the program before women were allowed into combat positions. Like in 2015 or 16, I think that's when Congress officially allowed women into combat roles. But there's some of us that actually served in combat roles prior to that time. And that's a lot of us around that time are struggling because they're like, wait, how did you deploy? And how were you in combat when Congress didn't even allow women into combat roles? So it's very frustrating. Right now, where it's at is it passed through the Armed Services Committee and it's waiting to be announced on the floor. And we're hopeful that Congressman or that Speaker Johnson will present it. But in the interim, what we're doing is individuals like myself, the executive director, other CSTs are doing events to draw awareness around the Jax Act. So like I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in a month or so, month and a half or so, and I will be doing it to recognize and draw awareness around the Jax Act. And the executive director of the Special Operations Association of America, SOA, he's going to be running a marathon in New York for the Jax Act. So anybody wants to do something for the Jax Act, let me know. We would love for you to help us get the word out so we can get more support, so we can get our congressional leaders to give us the stamp of approval and get us across the finish line.
I don't know if I can climb a mountain like that, but I can climb the steps at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. So I'll do that, and that will be my.
There you go.
I think they do that every year.
You just climb as many steps as necessary to equal Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
I could do that.
And then there you go.
Oh,
and then you can come to my funeral. Is what you can do.
That'll be fun. Her legs are all bruised. I don't know why.
Wow.
You see, that's a callback.
I got that.
Yeah,
Knew that was going to come back. So it sounds like, Jax, you have quite a lot of stuff coming up for you. Climbing a mountain, of course, being one of the main things. But also, we mentioned earlier that Wild West Hackin' Fest is coming up. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be speaking at Wild West this year. That's pretty exciting.
I am going to be speaking and I'm going to be teaching you how to hack the boardroom. So I'm going to be talking about how to add value when you're doing your briefs. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've seen when I stepped into this role is that I'm a pretty decent briefer. And if that's a key thing that you need, not just as an executive, but I think in cybersecurity, because I know there are individuals that are on here that understand when I say, like, if you cannot communicate to the business level, like cybersecurity challenges, the security related challenges to the business level, nothing's going to get done. You're not going to get the budget you need. You're not going to get the resources you need. So that class is going to be all about being able to communicate the technical jargon and those security related issues down to the business level in a simplified way. So then our business leaders can start to get on board and understand and support what we need them to support as far as security objectives and overall budget. Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I hope so for everybody. So I'll see you guys there at the Wild West Hacking Fest. Woo woo.
Heck yeah.
It's
our
awesome.
favorite con. Shout out to all the people over at Black Hills.
Such
Zach,
a good con.
John Strand, and of course, our beloved and missed Kathy Chambers.
Miss Kathy Chambers, yes. Moment of silence.
Yes, Kathy Chambers. She's in the chat too. Woo woo.
What's up, Kathy?
I do miss Kathy, but
That's right.
I'm super excited for her because I know she's doing great things.
Oh yeah,
over there.
she's having a good time over there.
She's killing the game, and I
Yep.
see like the post on LinkedIn still that she does,
Yeah.
and I just love following along and seeing what she's up to. So
Hashtag winning.
yeah, shouts out Kathy. We don't hate you.
No, we
We
don't.
love you.
Miss you dearly.
We do. We do. Well, Jax, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing you speak at Wild West. It was hard for me to pick last year, like which talks to go to.
It gets tough,
And
doesn't
so
it?
now this will be number one for me.
Yeah.
I know for sure I'll go see this
Oh,
We'll
one.
be in the crowd
Yeah.
cheering you on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We'll
That
be
would be
there.
great.
We'll be there.
Wear
stand
purple. The only way you
Yeah.
can do it, Sophie, is
That's
if you
right.
wear purple.
Bruised up.
Gotta be bruised.
Bruised up.
Bruised
Yep.
up.
I will stand out. It'll be like, you know how, do you ever sometimes you get like a bruise and you don't know what it's from? And
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like, where did that
yeah.
come? It'll be the opposite of that. You'll know exactly where I came from. I will
Yeah.
be standing there. You will not be able to
She's
ignore
just
me.
in her hotel room hitting herself with a sack full of nickels.
Yeah.
What is,
And there it is,
again
there
with
it
this?
is.
What?
And there's the picture again. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's just
Do you
wonderful.
push on bruises? Do you like that little
what-
the pain that you get? That little
I for some
tenderness?
weird reason, like I do initially.
Yeah.
I'll be like a bruise on my arm and I'll be like, what's that from? And I know doing that is going to be like,
gonna hurt.
oh. So I'll only do it like once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And then I learn my lesson. But I mean, I'm 20 something years old.
Yeah.
And it's like, I should have learned by
Yeah.
now. So real quick though, before we move off of Wild West Hacking Fest, there's something that we've really been trying to push. Whenever we have a guest on that we know is going to be there, we are trying to arrange an arm wrestling match with the one and only John Strand. Daniel already said no because his arm's jacked up and he doesn't want to.
Doctor said no.
Doctor said no. Jax, do you think you might be willing to challenge John?
I think you
I
can,
mean,
I
I'm
think
probably
you
not
can pull
going to
him.
win, but let's.
Listen, it's
I mean,
all
I
about
have a-
technique. It's all about technique. I'll show
Can
you.
you teach me the
yeah,
technique?
I got you covered,
Yeah,
man.
you can
And
teach me the technique. I mean, I'm pretty strong. Wow, that's impressive.
it's
so,
Kathy.
what's funny is I know
Kathy.
who the
Kathy's
person
even
is
there.
on the right hand side in the
Man,
WAL
Kathy is
shirt.
buff.
Really?
Yeah,
over
that's
there.
Devin
Holy
Larrett.
smoke.
Devin
this
Larrett,
is
yeah,
great.
yeah. That is funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's
Shout out to
hysterical.
yeah, Caleb and Megan and the rest
Man,
of the
John
production
got
team.
buff too. Like
Yeah, he
y'all,
did.
all you got buff. Wow, I was impressed. I didn't know your arms were that big, Daniel.
Oh,
Jeez.
yeah.
You went in for that shoulder surgery and they like implanted muscle. in there
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just robot arm now.
It's all the YouTubing. Yeah.
Man, them mouse clicks will work you out every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, thank you, Jax, for bearing with us
Yeah.
on that. I am super excited for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know we do still have some questions we want to get to, but I mean, we're getting close to the end of the hour. I don't know, Daniel. Do you think maybe this is a good time for, in a second, we'll maybe do our rapid fire? We'll maybe do a chat shout out really quick. I
Yeah.
see Kathy is in the chat. We always love to see her. Chris Young is hanging out. He's been here since I think the beginning of the stream. He like hopped in immediately right at the beginning.
Yeah, man,
so.
he is really lighting it up
Aw,
right
look
now.
at
He's
that.
doing great.
They've got like a text file version.
IT career questions,
Very
which is Zach
nice.
Hill.
That is Zach. Dollar weenie.
Dollar weenie.
Not what I meant. Not what I meant. Well, I'll wear purple.
Whoa, Nelly.
Y'all wear purple. That's awesome.
That would be funny if we all had purple on at Wild West Hacking Fest.
Yeah, I don't. This is like the only purple shirt I own.
Well, you better keep it safe.
I don't, and I don't even know that I guess it's purple.
You have
I
to
guess
get like a
it's-
Plex
yeah.
Track shirt or something because
Like a
they're
mauve.
like they have a purple color.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. Or isn't Dark Wolf? Do they have like
Dark-
purple
is
as
there
one of their
purple?
colors?
I think it might
so.
be.
Well, that's Jacob. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll know. Probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to see everybody popping off in the chat. It's honestly, we don't always see like a super active chat, so it is nice to see everybody joining us and tuning in live. We got like 10-15 minutes left in the hour.
Okay.
So I do think as long as it's cool with our people in our ears, I think it might be time for rapid fire. What do you say?
Hit it.
All right, let's take a look. So Jax, I know we didn't do a whole lot of explaining of this before the show.
Surprise.
But when we get close to the end of the hour and we still have some questions rolling in, we do try to get to as many of them as possible. So you will have 30 seconds to answer each question, and there will be a noise that plays when the timer runs out. If you finish answering before 30 seconds, that's totally fine. So How are you feeling? Are you ready?
Oh yeah. Okay,
right.
let's do this.
We will jump right in.
Do I have a phone a friend or anything? Like, can I be like, Daniel, go?
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
can
I think so.
answer what
Oh,
I
sure.
can't
Yeah.
answer.
Absolutely.
Just say tag me. All right. I'll just tag me.
Yeah,
now.
I'm
We'll
gonna be like, tag
team.
Daniel, go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Okay, so I think we're all set. We got the
Sure.
terms set in our heads.
think
All
we're
right.
good.
We will jump right in then. This first question comes to us from Zoom. What specific challenges have you faced throughout your career that shaped your approach to security? How'd you overcome them, and any advice?
Shape my approach to security. So I would say working with various different clients, because every person that you work with is going to have a different perspective and understanding of security. That's really important to understand. The other thing is, when you have time to meet with your clients or your partners or whoever you're working with, ask them what their security challenges are. Get to know them, then you can start addressing those gaps. So that would be my big thing. I only have 30 seconds. I feel like I have
You
to
did great.
talk really fast.
That was really good. Yeah. And you
Right
beat
on
the
the
clock.
money. Right, look at you.
Wow,
You're killing
very
it.
Yeah,
good.
You're
got
killing
it.
it. See, this is easy.
All right. Next question comes to us from Kathy Chambers. Can you please describe what a BISO or BISO is and what that role entails?
Yeah, a BISO is the best role in cybersecurity. That's the first thing. Everybody wants to be a BISO, but it actually takes quite a bit of experience to be a BISO, typically 7 to 10 years. You need to have the technical background. The reason for that is the B, business information security officer. You're working at the business level and you're trying to understand the business needs, and then be the security evangelist for them to help drive those business objectives to the security CISO level. Boom.
Okay. I don't know that I was familiar with a
I've
BISO
never heard
before
BISO
today.
in my day.
I learned something today too.
Yeah,
It's kind of a new
Nice.
term. It's only been around
Gotcha.
for like 5 to 7, 8 years. It's not even been around for a decade, I don't
okay,
think.
that's how long I've been around. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Awesome. All right. Next one is a
Think
little.
of BISOs as mini CISOs.
Okay.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
they are.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, I'm definitely mini,
There you
so
go.
there you go. I'm halfway there. This next one is a little bit of a doozy. Will AI code tools be a net positive for the quality of software written by indie devs in the next 5 years, or will they increase the number of bugs that we see in the wild?
Ooh, God, this is such a good one. 30 seconds. Okay, they will be, I can't say if they're going to be, I think they could be a net positive, but I also think that we've got to be really, really intentional when we're putting these AI tools into our environment. And what I mean by that is we need to be assessing our security processes for them coming into the environment. A great example of this is Copilot. How many times have you guys listened to a podcast or heard about the vulnerabilities of Copilot, but nobody's actually really talking about it? Wait until somebody actually leverages and breaches that vulnerability, and then we're all going to be freaking out about Copilot. So I think there's a lot of positive with AI, but I think we need to have a critical security mindset when using these tools.
I couldn't agree more. I won't even get into it because I could yell about it forever. But yes. All right. Next one, it comes to us from Christopher. How can a newbie in cyber confidently differentiate between crafting cyber threat intelligence portfolio content versus crafting cyber risk awareness content? I'm struggling to keep them straight.
Yeah, Chris. Okay, I think we should take a step back on both of these to be able to understand this. So when we think of cyber threat intel, you should think about content that focus on identifying, analyzing, and sharing information about specific threats or emerging threats within your environment, such as attack vector threat actors and attack vectors. When we're thinking about cyber risk awareness or cybersecurity awareness, that is content that I'm thinking based on this question is really geared towards education of employees and stakeholders about a potential risk. Ooh, that one I needed more time on that one.
Yeah, that was a
but yeah.
doozy, wasn't it?
I was looking at these
But you
questions.
did
I'm
great,
like,
man.
yeah,
You're killing this, and you were worried.
Yeah.
Over here, I was
your word for
I'm
nothing.
just gonna listen.
Yeah.
I'm soaking it in.
Oh my God.
This next one comes to us from Paul on Zoom. I'm an EMT who wanted to transition to IT, so I got my BS in cybersecurity, but I still have no luck getting a job in IT. Should I get all the certs like A+ and so on, or go straight for Security Plus?
Okay. Ooh, 30 seconds. Okay. My first question to you, if we were having a call, would be, what do you want to do in this industry? Because this is a really broad question. You've got a BS in IT, but what is your focused area? Is A+ going to get you and keep you in the focus area? The other thing I would say is show your work. Start, if you can do hack the box, if you can create a blog, if you can create a YouTube channel, all of those things are going to be able to help you with building out your resume more to be able to get you into that first initial interview.
Okay. Wow. You're killing the game. You're finishing right on time. John on Zoom wants to know if there is a particular kind of person that you think it takes to be good at cyber. Like if you're super ADHD or very analytical.
All of the above, D. It takes all of it. It really does.
In my head, I thought,
neurodivergent.
yes.
Yes. Like all of it. Seriously. I will tell you though, a skill that I think sets people apart from other people in cybersecurity, but if you don't have it, it's okay, is interpersonal skills. Like read Emotional Intelligence 2.0, like get that book, understand how to communicate things. Outside of that, everybody's welcome. We need all the types, all of them.
Need all the types.
Yeah. If you can do the job, we could really use your help.
I would agree. I think like with everything else, it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
It takes a whole bunch of different kinds of people
Yeah.
to really get a good broad look at things. So we've got, I think 3-4 more, so we're getting close. Kelvin wants to know, what are the key skills and qualities you believe are essential for success as cybersecurity professionals today?
Kind of ties into the other one. So I think key skills is knowing how to focus, study, like continuous learning. I think that's a skill, like continuous learning. Here's a skill that I was just talking to somebody about: critical thinking. When you don't get the answer that you need right then, instead of just going back to that person, be like, I don't know what this is, being okay with not knowing the answer and researching and finding. I think that's a huge skill that you need to have in this, is being okay not knowing the answer and researching it.
I love that answer. Being right, the skill is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is not knowing but being able to find, right? The skill is being able to discover where that answer actually is, and not just going, what are you going to do?
And wanting to, wanting to find the answer.
That you cannot stop until you have the answer.
I like to agree to agree.
And coming to somebody like your mentor with what you think the answer is, like, hey, I don't know, but I think this is the answer, versus like, can you tell me what the answer is? Which is, I get it. It's really when you're new to this field and you just don't know what you don't know. But I encourage people, like, go and research, try to learn it on your own.
Well, I would have to agree on that. Sarah says, are there any tips on finding beginner cyber roles that are legit, especially work from home, because there are so many scams out there?
Oh God, I've been hearing about all of these scams. I'm sorry if you got one of those scams, Sarah. So I would focus on what is a legit beginner cyber role. So like a junior SOC analyst, GRC roles, you can find sometimes like junior entry-level security engineering roles. So make sure the first thing is like, is the role actually junior? And then vetting it as much as you possibly can. As far as beginner cyber roles, I would try cybersn.com. Deidre Diamond, she vets a lot of those job descriptions that are up there.
Really quick, on this topic, our director said that he's got a quick visual for us that relates to this. I think of something on your Instagram. Oh, look at that. So this was a scam, it looks like, about, a parking scam.
QR code.
Oh.
So parking. So this is scary because I actually use this app on my phone in Virginia. I don't know if they use this app out in North Carolina, but this is a park mobile legit app that's utilized in a lot of states. What they've done is they've basically recreated it. Instead of just putting the QR code right on top of the QR code, it looked like to me, they actually removed the sticker and put a brand new sticker on top. So you don't even know. It looks legit. It's scary. So then you scan that and then you're putting malware on your phone.
Wow.
Yep.
And a lot of times that's the only way. We have those in
they're
Gainesville.
getting smart.
And a lot of times it's the only way you can. It's like you either scan this QR code or you don't park here. So if you don't have another option to pay, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, there it is. Passport parking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to make sure it goes to that app. The gentleman, what he was saying is when he started to put in his credit card information for it, because he was like, why doesn't it have in my information? The bank had given him a notification right when that was going on about his wife's credit card being like fraudulent activities. And that's when he realized, I think this is actually not a legitimate parking meter.
It's good thing you got it in time.
Man, and they took down all my stickers. I mean, they took down all those stickers.
Ha, ha, ha. He's kidding.
I'm a joker.
The police are, hello, FBI, open up.
What's interesting is like if they would have just had like an LCD screen built into the parking meter that displayed the QR code, you wouldn't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
But
that's a good idea.
Because it's a sticker, anybody can paste over it.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have 2 more questions before we wrap up here. Jim says, if you were totally disconnected from the cyber community, starting over again, how would you start networking and finding mentors?
Oh, I would join the communities like Simply Cyber, Daniel's YouTube. I would get with cyber and security, like join the communities and then go to some of these smaller conferences. B-side is a great option for that, the really intimate ones, and start meeting individuals in person. I would even go into Meetup and just start going to meetup groups that are local, because there's got to be, I'm just moved to North Carolina. There's probably events around here that I just need to search. That's what I would do. If I had to start completely over, I would find a community.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it as any.
And if you can't find one, start one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Like she says, we're totally disconnected from the cyber community, starting over again. Like you would have to have, because this is a community. So even if you started over again without the community I have now, I would like create a community or join a community. It's all about community.
Yeah, like Jesse Johnson, right?
Yeah.
He created that Slay Security
Yeah,
as
yeah.
like a Security Plus study group. And now it's huge. It's great.
Yeah.
It's super awesome. So these things will catch on as people learn about them. So don't be afraid to go, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I guess I'm on deck.
Yeah, got to start somewhere, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is going to be our final
that
question for today. Johnny says, what's a bigger Sophie, bruise in the world of cyber? The infinite money hack or the CrowdStrike disaster? What an original question.
Oh, God. Ooh, man. That's a tough one. Oh, man.
I'll probably go with CrowdStrike.
I'm going to say CrowdStrike. Yeah, I feel like CrowdStrike was like, they're in lawsuits. That's the thing that people don't actually realize. This isn't gone away. They're in like lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Like this had a massive impact. And I think larger scale than just like what happened in CrowdStrike is just looking at how vulnerable we are in general within our infrastructure and like our enterprise and how we're interlocked and how if an adversary had actually come in, think about how catastrophic that could have been. That's kind of why I think CrowdStrike in my mind is much more of a disaster, because it's the longer term ramifications from that.
I would agree. I think the Chase Bank thing is just more of a shaking my head kind of thing, because the thing that allowed it to happen wasn't necessarily a security thing. It was just like,
it was just a glitch.
Yeah. Oh, you're able to access your deposited check funds a little too quickly, and so usually there's a delay, and so it was just kind of a people taking advantage of that. And
plus, the money printer go burr. And
right. Well, it's like, that's only going to backfire on you. So I would agree. I think the CrowdStrike thing for sure. Well, that's going to do it for our questions today. Jax, before we go, any socials or anything like that? I know we showed like your Instagram and stuff, but anything else you want to plug before we sign off?
Just find me on LinkedIn. I am Jax Scott. That's it. Everything else you guys have plugged. So I appreciate it. I've had such an amazing time with you, both of you. Thank you for having me back into the studios remotely, of course.
Has been a pleasure.
I love you guys.
Absolutely. We always love seeing you virtually, and we really do look forward to seeing you in person at Wild West as well. So we'll see you there. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys there as well. Keep in mind that's October 8th through the 11th. New TechNado out today. Go check it out over on the YouTube channel. And remember that today's webinar was sponsored by Daniel's YouTube channel. So please go and check out at Daniel Lowrie on
you guys.
youtube.com. Cybersecurity, hacking, mentoring. Wow. Look at that smiling face. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Jax, for being here. And for Daniel Lowrie, I'm Sophie Goodwin, and we'll see you next time.